Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. We're building a 3-piece wood takedown bow. This is another part in the series. Let's get right into it. I feel like I've pitched this stuff enough, but I know new people come, so I wrote a how-to book of how to build this bow if you're interested, and also have a kit on it. You can check the other videos for more information. What other videos, Kramer? Well, there's a playlist in the description that has all of these videos in it. I'm gonna do like a 6 or 7 video series on this bow, and check that out. You might like it. And one thing you may not know about the playlist is that I schedule videos in advance for the future. So you go check that playlist. It's an unlisted video, but it's still in that playlist a lot of times, so you might be able to watch videos that haven't even become public yet. So there'll be 0 views or 5 views on the video, but it's free for you to watch if you want to go check it out on the playlist. Limb bolts are on and everything, and I actually just filmed an entire section and scrapped it because I wanted to show you what you're probably or potentially going to run into. So I purposefully created a problem. So now that our limb bolts are in, what we want to do is see how straight our limbs are. And lots of times I'll grab a string, chalk line here, but using it just as a string. And you can go from center to center, and it's very obvious that this limb is like half an inch further that way than it needs to be. Don't know if you can pick that up through the camera, but this needs to be shifted this way. You want the string to be right in the middle of the bow. And this is a problem I encountered all the time when I started doing 3-piece bows. So let me show you how to fix it. It's actually a pretty easy fix, and it also doesn't hurt the bow at all. So that's why I wanted this pin easy to pull out. Boom. What we need to do is change the location of the pinhole. And by change the location, I mean move the hole 1/16 of an inch to the right. I've got a cutoff from the riser we'll do this with. The reason we can do this is because it's a locator pin. It's not structural, so we just need to move it so that the limbs locate every single time and are straight. Additionally, I'm gonna put felt to cover up where the old hole is. I do a piece like this. It has a nice taper, and it is kind of cone-shaped. Just a dowel, but that'll allow a really tight fit. You could drop it in with wood glue, but for a quicker turnaround time, I'll use some CA glue and accelerator. So CA glue into the hole, and then I'll put accelerator on this piece. Now, if you want to be particular, you can line up the grain the same way so it'll blend in even better. See, I sanded the top flat, and there we go, that's it. Now that accelerator takes 10 seconds to set up. And by using a piece of this same riser, one of the cutoffs, you can hardly see it's there. Now, I know I need to move it to the right slightly, so something shifted. I didn't get it lined up properly. Use a little scratch awl to pin exactly the spot I want. The interesting thing is, you're gonna be cutting out most of this dowel, but just a slight bit off to the side. Now, if you take a close look at this, you can see the tiny little bit of dowel that's still in there. But now this should adjust the limb to be straight. In less than 10 minutes, we fixed that. And that used to be like the biggest stressor with 3-piece takedowns, is not getting this perfectly aligned. Now there's something you could potentially run into depending on how you shaped your riser. And that is that there's a gap between the riser and the limb. And that's because they're interfering with each other. So what I do is I round over the limb or the riser, you can do either one, to make them fit. It's generally just on that corner that can make this problem, but your alignment can look off if this is off. So double check that, round it over on a sander if you need to. Now from this point, I'll mark the center of each limb, then I'll measure 1/4 inch on either side because we're doing a continuous taper from 1/2 inch all the way down to 1.5 inches at the handle. After you sand off or cut off the excess, you have a really straight bow that is nice, perfectly continuously tapered. There is, however, a couple nuances to this. With this bow build, we glued the limbs up square, like full size, rather than pre-tapered. You see this one here is pre-tapered. The nice thing of leaving them wide is even if your alignment is just like slightly off, you might have enough width to still get a straight limb, and you'll just cut a little bit less off of one taper than the other. If you did a pre-taper like this, so it's tapered before you've done hardware, then it needs to be even more precise. To taper the limbs, a bandsaw works really quickly and really nicely. Doing it on a belt sander might even be safer. It'll take longer, but less chance of you messing up. The key with the taper is that you take extra time to make your marks on the back of the bow. And then when you're cutting it or sanding it out, you know whether you're going to your line or beyond your line. You see, if this is my bow limb, and I'm marking my taper out, what some people don't realize is that a Sharpie line is about 1/10 of an inch. So that means 2/10 of an inch or 1/5 when you multiply that by 2. So if you marked with a Sharpie and you haven't decided where you've marked, you could be 2/10 of an inch off by removing material. Because if you remove material up to the line, it's going to be different than if you remove the line. So just plan ahead when you're marking out your bow, whether you're going to the line or cutting through the line. I used to do trim carpentry, and different people did it different ways. I think the cleanest look is to be able to set it up so you remove the line. I think that's visually, visually that's easier, and then you don't have any marks left on your piece after the fact. If you mark it out with a pen or pencil, it's gonna be much smaller of a line, but you can still be nearly up to 1/10 of an inch off without knowing how you're cutting it out. So once it's tapered, it should look something like this. The limbs are tapered, they're on the riser, and everything is looking clean and true.